Hi everyone. So I'll just welcome you in this kind of the part number 3, whereby now we're going to see how we can save data on a course table. But of course we need just to retrieve some data comes from lecturer, because we need the lecturer who teaching a certain course. Also we need a list of those kind of the students so that it can be saved to database, nothing else. Okay. So now, without taking much time, now let us work on this one, then we try to save data to database. So here we go. So that thing we're going to apply right now. So we're going to work on this guy. The first one, we need to retrieve data. That means we're going to read data comes from database to be saved in the combo box of the lecture. Also to add some data to the list of the student, nothing else. Okay. Let us start with that one. Okay. So now let us back to the OneNetBean project. The first one, you just need let us back to the our class called course management system. That's where we have everything from here. So when you go to the design, you see let us go to the design. On the course, you can see we have the lecture ID, the lecture item, and the student list. Let us first remove everything we have from here. Let us go to the properties of these things, and then we remove all items. Just how we remove them, just delete them, then you close, and then you come up with this one. Also right click, and then you just go to the properties, you remove everything you have there, and then you close. You can see we no longer have anything that's coming there by default. So because we're going to add our own things there. Okay, so now let us go to the source. I will just wish you to be back. You can see we have this kind of the course management app and the init component and so on. So initial component, this kind of the initial component, whenever we learn a program, the initial component, that means is the constructors. This kind of the constructor is going to call all initial component. So under the initial component, that's where we have this code called generated code. It is just behind. It holds those kind of the graphical user interface. All the information there. It's found under initial component. That's the reason why whenever we learn our program is going to come here and it check all this kind of the initial components. So now for us, even we're going to create a method that's going to, wherever we run a program, is going to retrieve first in database and then be shown on the screen. So here we go. Now let us have a method under here. I'm going to say generated method or generated methods. Okay, let us have, of course, you can use a private. Let us use a private. It doesn't have to return anything. Let us say add lecturer combo. Let us add lecturer to the combo box. Okay, and now drag this way. Let us start with the lecturer. Okay, so that means we need to add lecturer to the combo box. What do we need in order to add certain lecture to the combo box? Okay, that means we need a certain list that's coming from the database. So how can we first? That means we need to get all lectures that are in database to be shown in the combo box. So that's the reason why let us first start with our lecture DAO, so that we're going to add a method that's going to retrieve all the list that comes from the database. So let us go to the lecture. This under the lecture we already have the save lecture. Now let us have another method down here that's going to be public. It's going to return certain results. Okay, so I will show you the first. Let me first use void. I will just change the data type because I need to return the result set of the data. Okay, so let us first use void. I will change later on. Let us say get all lecture. We don't, if we need to get, we don't need a parameter because we do not need to set something. We just need an information. That the reason why I don't need a parameter, unless we need to get a lecture where certain ID is this one. That's the reason why we're going to the time we're going to need an ID. So now let us put it this way. Now we're going to retrieve data coming from database. Okay, so without using everything, actually I'm going just to copy everything I have for trying to catch, because don't have to continue repeat things. Okay, I'm going just to copy, then I edit some of them. Okay, I'm just copy You can see because it doesn't have to return anything. Let's say like this way. It does say return nothing. Okay. And now the same register derivative is the same, connection is the same, but the strings are the same. I mean, for the SQL are different. Let us just delete everything we have for this kind of the SQL. Okay. Now we're going to select data comes from database. Okay. So we use keyword select. From where we need to select all things from table person. But you know, we need to get on lecture. That means we need to set where type is lecture. That's all. Then where type of database in Ghana is equal to lecture. Is equal to the lecture. So we just say equal and then specify the code. Okay, the code is equal lecture. That's all. We're done. Where type is equal lecture. So then that's how you select everything with a certain condition. Now we don't need what you call execute update. Actually, let me delete this guy so that we don't mess up. That means we have select all person where type is equal lecture. Now we need a lizard set. We need the lizard, what you call a lizard set coming from, it is a lizard, I mean it holds all the information coming from the database. Okay, then it says going to be the lizard. Then it's going to be our statement dot execute query. Always when you're retrieving data comes from database, use execute query for select. You can see the data type, it returns lizard set. Okay, and then specify the SQL is going to return the lizard set of them. Okay, coming from database. Now this only thing we need. We need this kind of the list that comes from database to be thrown away to the what? Graph user interface. So here we go. That means I'm going to return lizard. Okay, that's the reason why I'm no longer need a void that doesn't have that doesn't have to return anything. So then I need to return lizard set. That is it. That's the reason data type of lizard set. Okay, so that means if it didn't, if that again null, I mean value, it return null. Okay. Okay. So that's the reason why. Actually, that means we need to return a lizard set. I mean a lizard of those kind of the information comes from database, nothing else. Okay. We've done it from here, but this is a trick where type is equal to the lecture. Now let us back to the workforce management system, and then we are going to say we are going to have a DAO for the lecture, of course, the lecture because it holds those kind of the information, right? Then say lecture, and then it's going to be new lecture by creating an object. I mean this kind of the class, and then I'm going to have it. We have seen that this kind of is going to return a lizard set of data. Okay, I'm going to show something. That means we need to return a lizard set. Control space, you can see there's nothing there. Okay, put lizard set is found under java.sql. It's going to be imported automatically. You can see it has been imported automatically. Okay, and then you can say it's going to say lecture. Let us say use lecture data. Okay, and then it's going to become from where lecture dot get all lecture. It comes for as lizard set. We're done. That's how we create our lecture. Now, after having this kind of the lecture data, now we're going to iterate through this kind of the lecture data. Okay. Now we're going to use while loop. Okay. We're going to use while loop while this kind of the lecture lizard. Let us say, okay, lecture data. It is an object of this kind of the class of the lecture set. Are we together? Yes, and then we're going to use while this kind of the lecture data, it still has certain information. You see, we use what's called method called next. That means while it still have certain information, continue iterate to the end. When it iterates to the end, it's going to return null. I mean, it's going to return false. If it returns false, then loop is going to end. And then you put this one, put exact things. But they're going to say unreported exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Or on the lizard set, we need to surround it with try and catch, so that because it deals with the SQL queries and so on, because just assuming that comes from that DAO, it might have a null value. It might have some data that are inconsistent. That is why we need to sound to try and catch to avoid any kind of the error that can be raised. So we're going to put try, and then let us cut everything, and then we paste it here. Let's just drag this way, and then we catch it, or exception kindly, that would be great. Let's catch error exception, and then section.print stack trace. We're done. You can see there's no longer error. Now we're going to use this kind of the lecture data to be added to the combo box. We're done. Now I'm going to use lecture combo. You see this kind of the lecture combo dot add. What we need to add, we need to add an item. We need to add item. Actually, we add item is going to come up as a string, and then this kind of string is coming from where? From database through the DAO. Okay, so now if remember on our image we have you can see it has ID minus name. That means we need ID and name at the same time. So that's the reason why we're going to have a string. Of course, then we're going to use the lecturer data. We're going to use lecturer data dot get string. I want to show something. Dot get string. We need to get the string. We can see it specified the column label. When you go to the service, we can see we have ID, names, type, and course. So and then you can use ID or names, except the column label name, or you can use their index. You can see ID, it is on index position 1, as you can see the position 1 in database. That means I can access it by using its index 1, 2, 3, and so on. So now I'm going to use 1. For example, I'm going to use 1. That means I'm going to access only ID. And then we need to add quote like this way minus. That means we need to add this kind of the data, nothing else. Do you remember? For that kind of the design to be shown on the combo box. And then we use lecture data dot now get string column number. That means we need ID and the name. We're done from here. That's all. That's what we needed for the add lecture combo. Now we need to call this kind of method. As long as we we learn this kind of the program is going to grab all the information automatically. After adding something on design, it's going to retrieve data from database, be shown on our combo box. So now let us run the program to see if it's going to run. If it's going to work. It has got to the course. You can see now we have only one lecture. We have only one. You can see has been retrieved data from database. Let us try to add some lecture there. Then put test lecture, and then you save. Data saved. But when we come to the course, you can see I still have only one, because I should call this kind of add lecture combo after the user click on save to be again to update the combo box. So how can we do that? Let us just close. If I just relearn the program, I'm going to get exactly what I have. So I'm going to just copy this kind of the method, and then I come here. Wherever after saving, after having that kind of the feedback, now we need to call again to add the combo box. Now let us run. Of course, there's something also we're going to know. To get, you can see under the course we have both of two. So let us have another one to test what we have from here. Let us say test lecture 2. Let us use lecture 2, and then let us save. Data saved. You can see when you come to the course, you can see data has been duplicated, because we're just adding to the combo box before we remove what we were having there. So but that means before we just need to remove everything you have there, and then again we add everything. Okay, so that means we just come here, up here we say lecture combo dot remove all. Before we learn, we remove all items. We're done correcting that kind of the error. So before we test, now let us retrieve data comes from the student. Let us retrieve the student list. Let us retrieve student list. That means we want to have also another method, private void add student list. Okay, it doesn't have to tell anything. Before we move on, of course, we need to go again to the student DAO. We add some data, and that student DAO to get all the students. It's going to be the same process for the lecture. Here we go. Let us go here. This class start end here, where this kind of the class ends. Oops. I will just, now it does go here. Let us have public. You can see I'm going to use this as set because you already know this kind of the information. Okay, and then you say it needs to be imported. It is found in java.sql.all. Okay, and then you say get all students. We need to get all students, nothing else. Nothing else, just need to get all students. It has to return us first and null because we didn't implement anything. I'm going to just copy this one. Of course, we need to have sound try and catch. So catch, and then you catch all exceptions that can be raised, and then you print them. Put the closing one, and then say exception dot print stack trace. Now under the try, that's where you're going to have this kind of the information. So now let us have a string SQL. We're going to select all from table person, where now type is going to be equal, and then the code student, then put semicolon. Now we're going to have a lizard set. A lizard set is going to be lizard, it's going to be statement dot execute query, and specify that kind of the SQL. We done. Now return a lizard of them. We're done from here. Now we save. Now let us back to the course management, and then here we have, we're going to add this kind of the information. So we need a student DAO. Do you remember the process? We need the student DAO that says should, and then it's going to be new student DAO that hold all the information. So we need also to use kind of the student. Let us have a result of them. Of course, we need to grab the data. Okay, result of them. Let's go and say student data. The same process, nothing else. We don't implement new things. Let us now get all students. Now, of course, let us try and catch as quick as we can, because we know exactly that kind of error will be there. We catch all exception, and then you can say exception dot print stack trace. Okay, now we can say while student data dot next. Okay, dot next, and then we are going to do something. Okay, let us wait from here. So for these things, we need to be added in a list. So the first thing we need to do, just come here under this way. That's where we can declare what we call global variables. Okay, this is where you can have what we call global variables. We need to create what we call a default, to create a model for the list. That's how it works. So we're going to have what we call default table. Default list model. We call it. Let us call it any kind of the name. Let us call list model. Okay, or you can call it student model. That would be great. That would be best one. Student model, and then it's going to be new default list model. It comes as from Java Swing form. And then now we're going to come here, and then we use that kind of the student model we have created, student model dot add what you call add element. Now it grabs an object element. Okay, now this kind of the object element come from where? It's come from the student data, dot get string. The same process for the lecturer, nothing else. For the get string, we specify the column label. The first one is ID, of course. So we add the same process, the same thing, and then it specify student data dot get string label number 2. We're done. But before, at the end here, we need to use that kind of do you remember the student list? Okay, it comes from glist. You remember? This is the variable name. Okay, then double click on this one. Now we need to set the model, and then specify the model. Of course, is going to be student model. We're done. Now after we having this one, we need to call this method here above here. As long as we run the program, this should be executed. Not only that, as long as we save student, the same process, we need to recall again to be added there. So that means after the feedback under the student, we add the student list again. Now let us run the file and then you see what's going to happen. It has got the course. You can see now the course we have only one student. You can see it's just being visible. Now if we try to add certain course, let us add some here. Let us say how many ID. 1, 2, 6. Just using 6. Let us use 6 of them. That's 6 of them to make sure it is consistent. Okay. Let's say test student number 2, right? And then save, and then data save successful. When we back here, you can see it just being duplicated. Of course, yes, that's the thing we're going to disallow. How can we disallow? We just need to make sure we create new object for it, nothing else. Okay, you can come here. I'm going to show you something. You can come here. This variable we have created here, you see this, you can make sure wherever it's being called, you can make it a new default list before adding anything else. Okay, we can come here, we say student model is going to be equal to the new default list. Let me just use this one. Let us copy, and then you can say, can it be new default list model before adding anything. That means it's going to have 0 data, nothing else. Okay, now let us try to run lastly for checking, and then move on. We save this course. Now let us first add some student data, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now 7. Now let us have test student number 3. Now we save. Data saved successful. Now let us go to the course. You see, now it's just adding what we have there, nothing else. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to save this kind of the course. Whereby user will just choose the lecturer. Okay, after choosing the lecturer, so again it's going to choose this one. Okay, so here you go. Nothing else we're going to do. We're going to work on this guy. So now it has just put, this was the consistent way where you can add this kind of data with the same ID. We should that's the reason why on that the validation should have the same number of the ID, so that we can be able to retrieve data exactly we know one, because we're going to use what we call substring to grab the ID, because we need to add ID under the table, nothing else, for the lectures and so on. So now when we click on save, we need exactly, please provide some data because we don't have some data from here. We need to grab the number of them here. We need all numbers and then to be added there. So let us go on. It does make it inconsistent to have 6 number of them. I mean 6 ID of the lecture. Okay. If you wish to disallow this one thing to happen, you can specify exact number of the ID and the validations. Okay. So now let us make this one to the end. So now let us do something to save this kind of the course. Now let us come here, right click on this one. Let us go to the event action to be performed here. So you see, wherever I have saved successful, that's where we're going to save data to the database, nothing else. So now, in order to save a course, also we're going to repeat the same thing as we did for the lecture and so on for the save course, nothing else. Okay, here we go. Let us have in the course, let us just copy some of them. Let's copy. Of course, we need to copy this one because it's going to be the same. We copy and then we paste. We have public. Of course, it's going to return saved. Public void string saved. It's going to say what? It's going to say public save course. Okay. Of course, we need the course for coming from the model. Control space again. And then it's going to use small letters, and then we need to return. Let us first return. Do you remember we say that at the end we say data not saved, right? For inconsistency and so on. Now we need to surround if try and catch, and then the catch something exception, and then you can say exception.print stack trace. Now it has come here in the direction that we just need some information from here until here. That's what we need for the course one. And then let us paste here. Now let us click OK. Now let us have a string SQL to insert data to the course. So here we go. Now we need to insert into course table and then specify exactly the values. I mean the columns. For the column for this guy, for the course, we have 3 of them. We have ID, names, and lecturer underscore ID, nothing else. Then you specify the values. The values are going to come from where? We have both of them are the ID. Also we have lecturer, names and lecturer. So we're going to have double quote. So we're going to use course dot get. We need to get course ID. Also we need to get quote like this way. We need to get course dot get name. Lastly, now we need to get lecturer ID. We're done. Need to get course. Let's try to see what's going on. We need to add ++ course dot get lecturer ID. Sorry, Ctrl Z, Ctrl S. Now after this one, now we're going to execute to know int number of the rows that have been affected. Do you remember that things? So I'm not going to repeat it. I'm going just to copy, nothing else. Just copy this guy. Now we say data saved successful for the course DAO. Now let us save. We're done from here. That's how we are going to save the course. Okay. So now let us back to the project under the course management system, and then we're going to have the same process. We're going to have the DAO, I mean the model for the course. Ctrl again space course model. Let us say now course info that is called course information. It's going to be new course, and then we're going to say course information dot. Now we need to set it. So we need to set the ID. It's going to be course coming from GUI id text dot get text. So now we need also course information dot set course name. There's going to be course names dot get text. Okay, we good. Now lastly, you're going to have course information. Of course, for the ID, we need something that's going to get exact the selected ID comes from the exact the selected item from the combo box. That's what we need. So that means for the course info dot set lecturer ID, we just need some data that will come from the lecturer combo. That means we're going to use the lecturer. We got the lecturer combo dot get selected item. Selected item is going to be an object. Now we need to convert to the string, because this one it allow only string. But before we continue, if we say this one is going to retrieve the ID plus the names, but we need only names, that means we're going to apply, allow me, I know somehow headache, we're going to apply what you call substring. We need to make substring. We're going to make a string we divide it into the parts. That means we need to get the string comes from the 0 index until to the numbers where we have only numbers. It is 6 of them. That means if we need 6 of them, this thing starts from the 0 index. It starts from the 0 index. When you say sub, we specify exactly the starting, it will be 0. And then if we specify like it's going to end at 5, if we say it's going to end at 6, it's going to start 0, 1, 2, 3 to 5. That means it's going to hold only 5 numbers, though we need 6 of them. That is why at the end you need to put 7. You need to add 1. That's all. Okay. So actually, how it does on the beginning index of you take the number of the element you need, you subtract 1, but for the end you add the 1. We're good. Then after this guy, you can see we have lecture ID, we have the course name. Now we need to save data to the database. But before, we have a list of the student to save, because we need to update. Before we save data to the database, we need to save course to the database. Of course, after that, we update table for the student. Are we together? So now we're going to use the list. We're going to say student info. That means that will be the student information we have. Okay, there will be student information. Student information comes from the selected list of the student to be added in a course. So that means we're going to have, it's going to be a list of them. So we're going to use it's going to be student list dot get selected. We need to get selected the value. So we need to get the selected value of the student. After having those kind of the selected value, or actually we need to get all selected value. Actually, we need to get selected value list. Okay, this it returns a list of all selected item, not only one. If we say selected value is going to, it only takes one. That is why we need to get selected values list of them. Okay. Now, after having this selected values list, now we need to iterate through them so that we can grab all its data. We're going to use what we call iterator. Okay, so much of things. Then we use what we call iterator. Iterator. This one, it comes from java.util.org. Then let us use iterator. Of course, you can see the list is not imported. Let us import the list. It is found under java.util. Use the java.util list. And then let us have iterator. It's going to be equal to the student information. We have dot iterator. So we need to iterate through that one. Okay, and then you say while. Now I'm going to say while. Okay, I'm going to show something because we need to update data for the student, nothing else, according to the selected list. Now we're going to say while. I'm going to say while while iterator has something. Now I'm going to use while iterator has something. It has something. It still has next. It's going to turn true if the iterator has more than one element. Okay, and then we just go in the iterator. Boom. So now for these things we have for the iterator, we need to save to the its value comes from the next. We use what you call the next and so on, next until to the end. So now this guy, you remember under the list we have the ID, also we have the underscore name, though we need on the list of the student to update. And then wherever we have the student ID, we need also the course ID. We are just going to update there. The course ID is going to come from where? The course ID txt. Okay, so now here you go. So that means we're going to have, allow me just to pause right now here. We go back to the student that we're going to add a method to update the student. It does have here. We can have things that can make it quick. It does have public, say public. Doesn't have to return anything. Okay, it will not return anything. Say public update. It has. I need to update student, right? I need to update student. We need to update the student. So for the updating student, we need the ID of the student to update. Also, we need also the course ID at the same time. That means we can have always, we can make it simple without using model. For that, we cannot create too much of the object and so on. We can create automatically string student ID. We say student ID, comma. Also, we need the string course ID, because that's the thing we need only. Student ID and course ID. So, and then we come here, we say, we're going to have the same thing. Allow me to copy the thing we have from here. No, the one we have for save, exactly. Let me just copy for the matter of the time. It has say, because I'm going just to remove something. Because it is a void, doesn't have to return anything, okay? Can see now it has, let us remove for the return. You can remove for the things for the return. You can remove for the return. We don't need to return anything actually. Now we need to insert, not insert. So now we need to update. So that means we're going to delete these things we have from here. It has delete everything. Now we come here, we say, we're going to update. We say update. After update, you specify the table we're going to update. The table is called person. And then it says set. We're going to set, exactly, we need to set the course, okay? We need to set course. Remember that's the column. That's the column we have from here. It's called the course. Update person set course to be equal, and that the course exactly comes from, we do the concatenation for the course ID. You see, the course ID we grab from here, this kind of the course ID, and then we say where the student ID, the ID exactly is equal. Okay, we do like this way. So we grab the course, the student ID. You see, of course, in a table of the student, in the table of the person, we can't have the duplicate primary key. Always we're going to have only one. Okay, so that means if you don't have to mess up, you can go ahead, you say, and the type is student automatically. Okay, you can say and there you can use and, but it's not is going to be useless. Of course, you can say type is student like this way, also and where id is that one and type of is going is a student. So after this one, you just now use what you call execute update. That's all. Okay. Now it's going to return number of the rows affected, but we don't need it because we're not going to use it. Okay. Then we're done updating student. Now let us back to the course management system. We will have our iterator. It's going to iterate saving, and so on. And then it's going to use this way. It's going to say it's going to use, we're going to have an object for the student, and the student comes from DAO. We're going to have student DAO, and then say DAO is going to be new, because it's going to be a new object to save data to database. Okay. Okay, and then put semicolon. We're going to use DAO dot. Now we need to update student, and then we provide the student ID and the course ID. We're done. For the course ID, it's going to come from the course ID text. Okay, it's going to be course ID text dot get text. Okay. Also, we're going to, for the course student ID, is going to come from our iterator. Okay, all together, it's going to come from our iterator. Let us have a string ID. Let us use ID. It's going to come from our iterator. That means it's going to be iterator dot next. That means it's going to grab the value. Okay, and then we need to turn it to string. Of course, we need to use it as a string, and then note that we need a substring of them, because only we need 6 of them, 6 character. Substring starts from 0 to 7, and then you put semicolon. We're done. Okay, now we just have, okay, that's saying that character sequence cannot be converted to the string, but it's fine. Let us it is not substring, sorry, that was issue. Substring, not subsequence. Okay, we good. Now let us use the exact ID we have from here to be added here. We're done. So that means we're going to call DAO update. It's update data. Then after this one, we need to save now data, because we just need we can have data save successful after our after updating table for the student. Okay, because we need to return the feedback comes from the table of course, or we can even first save the course, then we come up, we're updating the student rate alone. So let us have, we can have whatever I have. That means we're going to have, after the while loop, let us do have while loop. Let us now do something. Of course, we can have a course, but without having a student. Okay, that is the reason why we need first to save the course before updating the student. So that means now we're going to have a course DAO for the course. That's going to be the end course, and then you say course. Let us say course DAO like this way, and then it's going to be course. We're done with this one, and then we're going to use that kind of the course DAO dot save course, and then to hold all those kind of the save information, and it's going to be an information. You can need a return value for this guy. It says it's going to be a string feedback, and then you use this kind of the feedback to be displayed here at the end, because for updating student we said it doesn't have to return anything, right? So now let us now save, and let us try to run the program to see what's going to happen. So we have a course from here. We have a course. You can see this is the thing you have from here. It has put, let us say, a math 1, 2, 3, and then it has say it's going to be applied. Let's say applied math. It has say it's being taught by text lecturer because he had 6 IDs. 6 characters. It has chose 3 students from here. 2 of them. Now it has saved. So what's going to happen? You can see data saved successful. Now it has go to the database to see if all of them has been saved there. Okay. Now let us go there. Let us go to the service. Let us first view the data for the person to see 2 of those kind of data if has been saved. Great. You can see for the course we still have null. We're going to see why do we have null, why didn't have any kind of the error that the thing we're going to work on before. You can see we just still have just insert set lecture ID with the names and so on. It has been inserted and set to update the course. We're going to see what's going on, and then now let us see for the course. Let's view the data. You can see we have this kind of the just grab some minus, though we don't need minus. Yeah, we just need to count both of them. It should be at 6 and so on. Okay, now let us see what we can change from here. But I think, as you can see, we're going to see why this Canada hasn't been saved automatically. There's some errors behind the scene that should be displayed, but it's fine. So let us first for let us put 6. That means we need only 6 of them. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that means 5 characters. 6 characters. There will be the end. That means this one will not be touched. It's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So and then we're trying to update the student ID by using course ID. We just put a math 1, 2, 3. That means a math that will be for 7 plus 6 characters. Though we said under this should hold only 10 of them. That means there are 12. So let us now try to make sure we don't put those. We don't exceed number of the needed. Okay, so we have this kind of the course. Let us use, for example, a math only. That means it is 4 of them. If we add the 6 of them, that will be 10 enough. Okay, let us say math. Let's say being taught by this lecture, and then it shows student 2, student 3. That is now saved. Now data saved successful. Now let us try to view the data. Go to the service. Let us first for the course. Let us view the data for this one. You see have amative math. Exactly, the dash has been removed. Now let us see under the the person. Let us view the data. You can see now for the student 2 or 3, they have been updated by using a math. Great, that's what we needed actually. That means that's what the program it is intended to do. That means the whole project is done. The thing that we're working on is being covered. So you can see we're just able to create student. We're able to create course list and create student with the lecture coming with the list of them under the combo box. Also, we just use GDBs to save course the database and update table for the student. That's what we needed by adding the course value. That's what we needed only. That's what they've been asked to work on. So I hope you just guys you have learned how you can deal with this everything. So good luck everyone. Thank you all.